She ministered to the poorest of the poor in India, a Nobel Peace Prize winner who became an icon of mercy and sanctity even during her lifetime. She left us in 1997, was beatified by Pope John Paul II in 2003, and on September 4th, she'll become Saint Teresa of Calcutta. My next guest knows her story better than most, having been a member of the Missionaries of Charity, and for 17 years, he's compiled material on Mother Teresa's life and work, and he's really labored to advance her cause for sainthood. He is author of a new book, A Call to Mercy, Hearts to Love, Hands to Serve, which gathers Mother Teresa's wisdom on mercy and compassion. Joining us via satellite from Rome is Mother's postulator, Father Brian KOLODIEJCHUK. Father Brian, thanks for being with us.
You're most welcome.
Now, tell me, how did you meet Mother Teresa? I know you met in 1976, and your sister was a missionary of charity, correct?
Yes, my sister was in Rome. She was just about to enter the novitiate, and my parents and I came from Winnipeg, Canada to Rome. And at that time, Mother Teresa was beginning the first group of contemplative brothers. And so my parents and I were going to the morning mass in the convent, the afternoon adoration. So Mother Teresa knew I was the brother of one of her sisters. And so when they had the opening mass of this new group of contemplative brothers, during the mass, Mother Teresa pinned the cross over the heart of one priest and 5 laymen. And after the mass, as my parents and I were leaving, my parents said goodbye to Mother, then it was my turn, and then she shocked me by saying, I would like to pin a cross on you too. And I was so shocked that I didn't even say anything. Only the next morning I asked her what she meant, and then I came back to Rome in September to join the brothers.
Wow, amazing. Now, how did you become the postulator? And the postulator is the person responsible for gathering all the evidence, the writings of the person whose cause is advancing, interviewing witnesses. How much material did you pull together, and why were you chosen?
Well, I happened to be in Rome at that time. I was the superior of our formation house here in Rome, and I was completing my PhD in organizational psychology, so they knew I had an academic background. And so the Archbishop of Calcutta formed a commission to start work on the documents, maybe get the witness testimony of someone who may not be around 5 years later. So I was a member with 2 other sisters, and in that capacity I took the course on the congregation offers. And during that course, we learned that John Paul II had made an exception to waiting for 5 years. And so in March of '99, I was chosen to represent from the Missionaries of Charity and became the postulator.
Father Brian, I want to talk for a moment. We hear in most of the media accounts, of course, really since your last book, Come Be My Light, was released, which are private writings of Mother Teresa, talking about this dark night of the soul experience, this feeling that God wasn't there, an absence of his presence, if you will, at least as far as her feelings were concerned. Now, this went on for 50 years, which is kind of a long stretch. Tell me, what was that about, and is that an indication, as some have suggested, that Mother Teresa doubted God, or was in a cloud of doubt for most of her active life in ministry?
Well, not at all, because she would say in places, I know in my mind and my will I am steadfast bound to Jesus. But it was like Jesus in the garden on the cross on Good Friday when he said, my God, why have you abandoned me? It was on the level, as you say, of the feelings. Doesn't make that much easier. It was still a very painful experience, the sense of loss of the presence that she had experienced around the time in the months following the inspiration. And then even more painful, she said, is this longing. Remember, she's a woman passionately in love with Jesus. She wants to love him as he has never been loved before. And then she feels this sense of being unloved, unwanted, uncared for, and that she's not able to love him as she wants to love him. And, you know, when she came out of India, she was saying, well, the greatest poverty in the world today is to be unloved, unwanted, uncared for. So she was living in solidarity with the spiritual poverty, and in our Catholic understanding, in union with Jesus, even for those poor that were suffering spiritually.
Father, tell me, she often said, and I was in her presence when she said, that the greatest poverty in the world is to be unwanted, unloved, uncared for. How personal was that, given what you've just told us?
at the time when she was speaking like this, we had no idea really where that was coming from. But now that we discovered those letters that are in that book, now we have a much deeper understanding that she herself was experiencing that being unloved, unwanted, and uncared for. And so she could empathize so well with all the people from all ranks of life and different states. And so when they would tell her their experience, she knew by, that's why she even preferred the word compassion even more than mercy. So that compassion, compatire, to suffer with. And she was really suffering with because of her own experience.
Father Brian, as her postulator, you probably know her best and more intimately than most. I know when you're collecting interviews and you're digging through the personal matter of a life, you do pick up a lot that the public really has no sense of. What do you personally come away with from Mother Teresa's example? I mean, you knew her in life. What did you learn during this long 17-year collecting period, reflecting period, and collating period?
Well, after the Positio was finished, I would say, well, I had my experience, other people had theirs, but from gathering all this material, putting it together, presenting her Christian life, this excellent, heroic Christian life, I really knew Mother Teresa much better after all this than even my direct experience. All these different aspects and different experiences, it's just even preparing Call to Mercy, just remembering again all that she did, and in this heroic interior state, that's even more amazing.
Tell me about A Call to Mercy, this new book. Now, this is her writings as well as testimonies. How did this come about? Why do we need another Mother Teresa book?
Well, this was different because, as I say in the introduction, we wanted to respond to Pope Francis' call to focus on the works of mercy. And so we have the Mother Teresa speaking about each one very clearly. And then for the first time, we're using just the tip of the iceberg of all the oral witnesses that we have. We have 17 volumes of 400 and 450 pages of just witness material. So this is just some of that material where she's putting into practice each of the 14 works of mercy.
What does this mean personally to you, this canonization? It is the culmination, obviously, of almost a lifetime of work, spending time collecting this material on Mother. What does it mean to you?
Well, it's certainly a sense of satisfaction that I was able to bring this process to a happy conclusion. I didn't make any major mistakes. It wasn't delayed because of my inexperience. And just the sense of gratitude that, that Mother Teresa will be canonized and the good that will do for the entire church, really.
And what is the message for the church? I have children. In fact, my oldest son is 17. He was born when you started this process. Give me a sense and give them a sense why Mother Teresa matters and what her witness should mean to them.
Well, there's just her heroic love of God, her concentration, her personal love of Jesus, her love of the poor. Just like Pope Francis who emphasized, we aren't indifferent to the poor, they're suffering, and that the message is when we serve them that God loves them, we love them, that they are important to us. Mother Teresa would say, for every person, every human being, my brother, my sister. And so, in this fast-paced world that we live in, that we don't leave behind, we don't forget the people who aren't able to keep up, and that we still remember that they are our brothers and sisters, and even especially loved by Jesus. And it's really Jesus in each person.
No, I saw her in action in Washington and in New York, and it was amazing watching her up close. I was struck by her single-mindedness, Father, her tenacity. And some people even found it, they said, oh, she's tough. Well, it takes a tough person to build a foundation like this and to, at times, bring these services and this heart and mercy to the poor. It takes someone like that who has, real drive and grit.
Humanly speaking, absolutely. Humanly speaking, she was a very strong personality, strong character, strong will. And so God purified that in the years preceding the inspiration. And a part of that vow that she had made in 1942 to not refuse him anything, one of the effects or one of the ways of living that was to do something now when it can be done now. I've seen before, someone, she was at a ceremony, the priest was supposed to take her somewhere, and said, well, maybe to go tomorrow, Mother, maybe a little tired, and said, no, now, so that everything that she could do now was now, as a real response to Jesus, and Jesus wants this now, and I'm not saying no, now.
Father Brian KOLODIEJCHUK, thank you so much for being with us. And the book, A Call to Mercy, Hearts to Love, Hands to Serve by Father Brian KOLODIEJCHUK. It's available at bookstores everywhere and online at the EWTN Religious Catalog. And before we go, some big events to tell you about. If you are in Louisiana, LPB, Louisiana Public Broadcasting, will be offering a sneak peek of a very special program that I created and hosted. It's called Christmas Time in New Orleans. The sneak peek is on September 7th, so mark your calendars. It's a celebration of a very special people and their music, food, traditions, and the communal belief that makes it all possible. The special will air on September 7th on public television stations in New Orleans, and the rest of you will see it on your PBS station later. Also, I will be at the EWTN Family Celebration in Birmingham on September 18th. Talking about Mother Angelica. I'm at the National Book Festival in D.C. talking about Will Wilder and signing books on September 24th. And then on October 2nd, make sure you folks in New York come to see me. A very special conversation I'll be having with author of the great children's book Wonder, P.J. Palacio, at the Sheen Center. All those events are on my website at RaymondArroyo.com. Don't miss them.